So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to snap and align objects in Blender. Let's start off with the basic snapping within the viewport. If you take an object and, for example, move it or even rotate or scale it, you can hit X, Y, or Z to snap it along an axis. And you can also, rather than doing that, just drag the middle mouse button along a particular axis. And you can also, for example, let's just scale this and then hit Shift Z so that you can kind of snap it along the X and Y plane, or Shift Y for the X and Z plane, and also Shift X for the Y and Z plane. And again, you can also do that with the other transforms. Now, moving forward to snapping from object to object, what you want to do is click this button right here to turn the snapping on, or you can just hit Shift Tab. And for the settings, it is found here. And the shortcut for that is Control Shift Tab so that it appears to the mouse cursor. Now, by default, you're going to have probably the snap to increment. And to be honest, I don't really use this setting that much and understand it fully. But what it kind of does from how I see it is it kind of snaps the object to this grid right here, and you can adjust that grid here in the scene properties. You can change the unit scale, and you can even change the unit system, but personally I would just use the metric option. And so when you have that on, let's just hit Shift Tab, hit G, and then X. As you can see, it is snapping to the grid. And if you go back to the settings again, I just personally don't see the difference between these two. Like if you turn this on, go to the top view, if we snap it again, right, it is kind of snapping the object to the grid. Honestly, I just do not see the difference between the two, and I don't really use these settings anyway. So moving on, let's just turn on this vertex. This is the option that I would use in most cases. By the way, you can turn on multiple options at the same time by holding Shift and clicking on the option, and you can turn it off by doing that again. Let's just turn everything off and turn this vertex on. Now let's get another cube, Shift D, so we can have something to snap to. And so what this does is it snaps the object from vertex to vertex. So let's just try that out. Let's move this cube, and then by the way, you can also, if we turn this off, you can also momentarily turn on the snap by just holding Control right after the transform. So if we hit G, then hold Control, it is going to momentarily turn on the snap, and if we let go of the control, it's not going to snap anymore. So again, as you can see, it is snapping from vertex to vertex. Now in the settings, by default, we have the snap base set to closest. What this means is it is going to kind of look for the closest vertex that is going to snap to the vertex of the reference object. So again, if we hit G and then Control, so you can see it is snapping from this vertex to this one. So if, for example, if we move this object right here and then snap it again, as you can see, because this is the closest vertex to it, it is going to snap it that way, right? Similarly here, we snap it here. So we can change that to center. And so obviously what this does is it snaps the center of the object to that vertex, right? So if we hit G and then snap it here, as you can see, it's snapping from the center to the vertex. So for the most part, I would just use this closest. And honestly, again, I do not know the difference between this center and median. If we turn this on, it kind of does the same thing, right? So I really don't see the use for that. But for this active option, if we have two objects here, for example, or let's just get three objects. If we select the three objects and we have this one that's highlighted yellow, it means it's the active object. So if we snap these three objects to that, it's going to snap the active one to the vertex or to whatever option you put in, right? So in this case, it's a vertex. So whenever you snap it to the object, it's going to snap it from the center of that active object. So you can also snap in edit mode. In this example, I have a cube, and let's just say I want to level this surface to that of the cube. So we're going to go to edit mode, click the object, go to tab, and then select the face, hit G, Z, and then hold Control, and then snap it to the vertex. Now another way, a more accurate way of snapping from point to point is by using the new snap feature of Blender 4.0. So again, this works for Blender 4.0 and above. If you're below that, this might not work for you, but the way to do that is, for example, if you are grabbing the object or moving it, after hitting G, you gotta press B, and then Blender is gonna ask you which point you want to base the snap from. So for example, let's just pick this, and then you're gonna snap it to wherever you want it to go, right? So again, hit G, B, pick a point, then snap it to where you want it to go. So let's explore more of these other options in the snap settings. We also have the option to snap to edge. So let's just try that out. Let's turn both vertex and edge so that I can just show you how you can kind of slide things around edges. So I'm going to select this cube, hit G, B, select this vertex. Then as you can see, you can literally snap to the edges of the other cube. Alright, so this time I'm going to show you how I would use this face snap. So let's just get a cube and then a plane to snap it to. Put it there, rescale it in edit mode, and then make a copy of it, and then subdivide this other plane. Select nothing, go to select, and then R, and then pull, no, go to vertex, and then select
random, then pull this up. Now the way I would use this, for example, if I have a vertex, so let's just go to edit mode for this cube, then merge everything. I would use this often when I'm trying to draw on a particular surface, right? And I want to make sure that I am hitting the plane. So to do that, I would just hit E and then Control E, hold Control E, hold Control. So this is useful whenever I'm again drawing on a surface and I want to make sure that everything is flattened out and is snapped to the surface. And also similarly, if you want to snap to an irregular surface, you know, there are also times you want to model and want to make sure that the vertices are hitting the faces of the other object. So yeah, this option is useful in that case. Now, the thing I find difficult when using this face snap alone is that it can be really hard to snap between two 3D objects, especially if you're using the base snap. Let's hit G and then B. It is just so hard. Like, it's not entirely a real problem, but it's just an inconvenience that you have to kind of set yourself in an angle where you can see both faces just to, you know, snap them together. So personally, I just find it more convenient to use it together with both or either the vertex and or edge snap. And so if we turn this on, rather than having to find the right angle to see both faces, you can just snap it from the vertex of the main object to the face of the other object much more easier. And another option you have that are somewhat related to this is, let's just get a UV sphere and scale it up. Control Shift Tab. You also have the option to align rotation to target. So by definition, what that means is, let's just go G and then Control. It's going to align the rotation of the main object to the normal of where you're snapping it to. Right. So this can be useful in many cases. Like for example, you're adding in screws or whatever. Now this time, let me just show you how to use this face project option. So this works when you are in edit mode, and what this does is it kind of deforms the main object according to the object you're snapping it to. So if I hit G and then hold down Control and then snap it to the sphere, as you can see, it is deforming itself to follow that shape of the sphere. So it basically works just like the shrink wrap modifier, if you're familiar with that. And these two are pretty similar for the most part. In fact, let's try this other one out. Go Control Z and then turn this other option on. So again, it's basically doing the same thing. They just kind of differ in terms of projection. And again, I honestly find these two a bit impractical compared to the shrink wrap modifier, which I am going to cover in another video. Now back to this upper section. Let me just show you this volume snap. Let's just get back to the closest and turn this on. By definition, what it does is it snaps the object to the inside volume of the other object. So now let me just show you how to use this edge center. Let's turn this on and turn this vertex off. Let's get another cube. So what this does is it allows you to snap from the center of any edge, right? So if we hit G, then B, now as you can see, it is kind of snapping to the center of the edge, and you can just basically click that and then snap it to another center of the edge. And for me, this just works well together with the vertex snap on, so that you can just basically snap a vertex to the center of any edge. And also, notice that whenever you snap, the mouse cursor changes its shape depending on the element you're snapping it to. So that's one thing that really helps you distinguish what you're snapping to. For example, if you have a lot of these options on, right? So when you're snapping to a vertex, it's going to give you a shape of a square, and to the center, it's going to give you a triangle and a circle for the plane, and sort of this X shape when you're snapping to the edges. And for this next example, I'm gonna show you how I sort of fixed this huge problem I had with Blender some time ago, and that is how to snap a surface to something irregular. Like for this example, let's just cut this cube so that we can have like a shape of a roof. I'm gonna rotate this and put this somewhere here. And so my problem with Blender some time ago was that I couldn't perfectly snap and align this plane to an odd angle similar to this roof-like structure. Now you might try fixing this by turning on the align to face option in the snapping settings. So let's just hit Control Shift and Tab. You know, you might think that this is going to fix it, but let's just try it out. Turn the face on and then turn this option on as well. If we try doing that just to align it to this angle, as you can see, it is not going to be entirely straight, right? So what I'm saying is I want to perfectly align all of these edges and face to this angle altogether. So there are two ways to fix this. We can use the 3D cursor, or we can just adjust the object origin. Let's just use the 3D cursor first. Let's make sure that the snap settings is right. We want the vertex turned on and have everything down here turned on as well. So once we've done that, hit Shift right click to drag this cursor, and then together with that, hold Control right after the Shift right click. And so once we have that snap to one of the corners, you're then going to want to snap the corner of the plane to the corner of the other object. Next thing you want to do is turn the pivot point to the 3D cursor by pressing the period key, then click on this 3D cursor. And so now whenever we rotate this object or any object at all, it's going to rotate around the 3D cursor. So once we've done that, you want to hit R and then Z because we want to level it with this edge. Then hit B, then rotate it from point to point. So from here, I'm gonna click here. So now we are gonna want to rotate this one as well. So hit R again, and then I'm guessing I have to rotate the X local axis. So I'm gonna hit it twice, 1, 2, and then again hit B. Click on the base point to the point you want it to go to. So now we have the surface angled with the face accurately. Alright, so I just undid everything just so I can show you the other method that I was talking about. So this time we are going to align it using the point of origin method, right? So to do that, you want to have the original object selected and then control period. And then again, make sure that the vertex snap is turned on. You can turn this face off and then just grab it towards this corner. Again, be careful of doing this because this might not work if you're not having the same exact settings. And then what you want to do is hit control period again and then grab this to this point. Then again, rotate it. Basically do the same thing. Hit R, Z, and then B. Then point to point, right? Then again, hit R, double X, and you might want to be careful with this because this axis that you need to rotate at this point might be different in different scenarios. So again, hit double X or Y or whatever you need to rotate it to, and then press B, press on the base point to the reference point. And so that is the other method that I was talking about. And another thing that I want to show you is if, for example, let's just delete this plane for this object. If you go to its item transforms, you'll find that everything is already set to 0, which means that this is already the exact default placement of the object. And I just noticed that there are a lot of tutorials out there that are going to tell you that in a case like this, you can no longer retrieve or align this accurately along the world orientation, which with what I just did is just not true. Okay, you can actually fix this by again doing what I just did. You're just gonna need a reference object. So for this example, let's get a plane and scale this up. So for example, let's just mess this up even more. Let's just rotate it randomly, right? And then apply Control A, then right click and double O. So the way to align this base to this base again is by hitting G, B, then let's get one of the points, control period, then grab it to this point, control period again to stop moving the point of origin, hit R, B, and then Z. Right. I know it's a bit confusing sometimes, but you're gonna get the hang of it. And then do it again, R, B, and then this time Y, right? And then once again, R, B, this time X. Then click on this. You can interchange the steps, by the way. So again, I gotta snap it from here. Oh, sorry, R, X, B, and then right. And then now that we have this, just Control A and A, right click, double O. And so now we have it aligned with the world orientation. Now I'm going to show you how to align things in Blender. Let me just get random meshes in just to scale this plane so that we can see it when it aligns together with this cube. So let's say you want to align this cube to this plane. So all you got to do is you want to have this add-on turned on, go to Control, comma, and then you want to have this align tool. So I don't know if you have to go to the get extensions to get this one installed, or maybe it's already in the add-ons. And so again, you just want to turn this on, and then this is going to show up here when you press N or here in the right tab. So you just got to press N and then go to this align tools once that's on. So let's just expand this, and you're gonna select this first and then press the object you want to align it to, and then just press this XYZ. So again, let's just move this plane just to show you. Select the cube, select the plane, and then press XYZ. And you can also, if you rotate this plane, you can also follow its rotation by again doing the same thing but pressing this align rotation this time. And also you have the option to follow its scale. So if you rescale this in the object mode, it is also going to follow the scale. So ideally you might want to have quick access to this by adding this to quick favorites. So you just gotta hit right click and then add this to quick favorites. In my case, I already have this turned on, so just to show you, let's hit Q, and I'm gonna remove this option in my quick favorites. So now that I don't have those, I'm just gonna right click, add to quick favorites, and also use this one. So I'm gonna add this as well. And so when I go to the quick favorites, I can just press this XYZ and it's gonna follow the alignment. And let me just add the location only as well. Right, so cube, plane, Q, and yeah, it's probably gonna get confusing. It has the same name, but yeah, the first one allows you to copy its rotation, and the second one allows you to copy the location. Subscribe for more videos.